Welcome to the Crawcast. I'm your host, George Krawczak, and these are my predictions for the Week 9 of the NFL season. And if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button like it owes you money. Now let's get started. The first game is the Houston Texans versus the New York Jets. I think the Jets will win. The Texans secondary is beat up, CJ Stroud's not playing great, and the Jets are trying to save their season. Realistically, the Jets need to be 9-8 to win make the playoffs. And so right now they're sitting at 2-6, and so they need to be 7-2 in the remaining games. It's going to be tough, certainly. Their schedule is a bit easier, but it'll be really hard for the Jets to do it. So right now, I just think the Jets are going to win. Their defense hasn't been playing bad, but they've been playing situationally bad. They did just sign a new kicker. It looks like Riley Patterson will be their kicker for this week, so Greg Zuerlein wouldn't be costing them games. And overall, I just think the Jets are going to win this game. The next game is the Atlanta Falcons versus the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Falcons are going to win. The Dallas basically has no defense right now with Micah Parsons and Dexter Lawrence injured, and then their offense is struggling because they have zero run game. So all the defenses have to do is just play the pass, and they shut them down. And the Falcons' pass defense with Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons and AJ Terrell is pretty decent. And Kirk Cousins has just been on fire right now, and ultimately, the Dallas offense just needs to play tremendous to keep Dallas in games, and right now I just don't see that happening against the Falcons. The next game is the Denver Broncos versus the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to win. It is unclear if Lamar Jackson is going to play or not. He did not practice today and was injured. If the Ravens do not have Lamar Jackson, I think the Broncos will win, but since right now it seems like he will probably play, I am picking the Ravens. Although I do think this is going to be a close game. Bo Nix really hasn't been great, but he hasn't been terrible either. He's just been kind of average to above average in most games. And then their defense has just been really, really great. And it's going to be very interesting because this Broncos defense has been so good, and this Ravens offense has been so good. It'll just be kind of interesting who wins. But overall, I think the Ravens are just a better team than the Broncos. But I think this will be a close one. The next game is the Miami Dolphins versus the Buffalo Bills. I think the Dolphins are going to win. Tua looked really good last week, and it was just him coming off of his concussion, and so he was just kind of warming up and getting back into the rhythm of things, and now it seems like he's finally back and ready to go. And then the Bills' secondary has been struggling a little bit. It's like Rasul Douglas and nobody else. Their defensive backfield has been kind of terrible, or their secondary has been terrible. Although the Bills' offense has been really great when Josh Allen isn't turning it over, and he's been kind of getting lucky, I just think this Dolphins offense with Tua now being back and has kind of a one game in and is now kind of not as rusty, I just think the Dolphins offense will be too good to stop with Tua and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and Achane looked pretty good last week. So overall, I think the Dolphins will win. The next game is the Carolina Panthers versus the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints are going to win. I think they should start Jake Haener if Derek Carr is not ready to go, although I do think Derek Carr has a small chance to play, although I don't think he will. Bryce Young did look better last week, and especially in the first half, he looked pretty good, and then in the second half, it kind of fell apart again. But overall, I think Bryce Young is getting better, and the major issue is now they lost Deontay Johnson, so basically they have Adam Thielen and nobody else, it seems like, and their defense is just so horrible. Even though the Saints are pretty banged up, just the Panthers' defense being so horrible, I don't think almost any quarterback could win with that team. And so I just think the Saints are going to win. The next game is the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the Bengals are going to win. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they've all been playing better. And the Raiders just aren't very good. They played decent last week, but they have no run game. Gardner Minshew is too off and on right now, and just overall, I just don't think they're a very good team. The Bengals defense has been struggling, but overall, the Bengals offense, I think, is way better than the Raiders defense, and this is a game the Bengals should win, and the Bengals do need to win if they're hoping to make the playoffs, because the issue with them is their division is so good. They have the Ravens, who are playoff contenders, the Steelers, who are playoff contenders, and the Browns, who are actually getting better now that Deshaun Watson's not there. So the Bengals really need to win this to hope to make the playoffs. The next game is Los Angeles Chargers versus the Cleveland Browns, and I think the Browns are going to win. And I say this because the Browns looked great last week with Jameis Winston as their quarterback, and it kind of showed Deshaun Watson is the problem and was the problem because Flacco looked great with the Browns. Now Jameis Winston looks great with the Browns. Everyone looks good with the Browns except for Deshaun Watson. And the Browns defense has looked great. The Browns offense now is looking better. And so I just think the Browns are really going to be able to shut down the Chargers. Even though Ladd McConkey had a great game and Justin Herbert looked way better, overall I just think the Browns are a much better team than the Chargers, especially with Jameis Winston and most importantly not Deshaun Watson starting. So overall I think this will be a close game, but because the Browns run game is struggling, Nick Chubb is not where he used to be and has been struggling. But overall I think the Browns are a better team, especially if they're passing attack. The next game is the Washington Commanders versus the New York Giants. I think the Commanders are going to win. Jaden Daniels and this Commanders offense looks great. And then with Dan Quinn coaching the Commanders defense, they've been looking great as well. And I think they'll continue on this trend. And just kind of, I think they'll mostly dominate the Giants. Their defense has not looked good, the Giants. And then Daniel Jones has been struggling. Malik Neighbors has had some great games, but he has been struggling with drops. And although Tyrone Tracy has been great for the Giants and has been a great Saquon replacement, overall I just don't think the Giants are a very good team. Although the Giants' defense has been great at striking down run games and Dexter Lawrence is great, I just don't see the Giants pulling it all together versus the Commanders. The next game is the New England Patriots versus the Tennessee Titans. I think neither of these teams are good. One starting Mason Rudolph and the other one starting Jacoby Brissett. I think the Patriots are better overall. Ramondre Stevenson has been a great running back, and just the Titans have been struggling a lot. Their defense has been decent, and last week wasn't really their fault. It was just special teams that played horrible, and that's what cost them the game. And overall, I just think the Patriots are a better team with a better defense, although both these teams are kind of at the bottom of the barrel and just not very good. And so it's kind of a matchup of who's worse, and I just think the Titans are worse than the Patriots. The next game is the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm picking the Jacksonville Jaguars. I do think there will be an upset here, just because the Jaguars really are starting to turn it around. Yes, they've lost last week against the Packers, but they did look way better last week. And Tank Dell's been great. Trevor Lawrence has been looking up. An issue is Brian Thomas will not be there, and they will not have Christian Kirk as well. So the receiver room is thinning a little bit. But this is one of those where I just have a gut feeling that I think the Eagles aren't going to play very well, and just the Jaguars are going to turn it on against the Eagles. Although I think the Eagles are a better team. This is more just a gut feeling one that the Trevor Lawrence will start dotting up these cornerbacks, and the Jaguars will play well. The next game is the Chicago Bears versus the Arizona Cardinals. I think the Bears are going to win. Caleb Williams did not look good last week, but the Bears defense has been great, and I think this Cardinals offense has been struggling against good defensive matchups. And overall, I just think the Cardinals defense is going to be letting them down. I don't believe Marvin Harrison Jr. is playing, and I just think as long as the Chicago Bears offense plays reasonably well, I think the Bears are going to win. And really, I think it has a shot at being a blowout for the Bears, in my opinion. Next game is the Detroit Lions versus the Green Bay Packers. And as a Green Bay Packers fan and owner, it really pains me to say that I think the Lions are going to win. Just because Malik Willis, I think, is starting. It makes no sense to start Jordan Love. He's very injured, and you don't really need to win this game in the sense if you lose, 6-3 is still a decent record. And next week you have the bye week, so you give Jordan Love 2 weeks to rest up. And I'm not counting out the Packers yet because Malik Willis has been playing well. And overall, I think the Packers are a good team. Their defense has been playing well as well. It's just that I struggle to say if the Lions offense playing extremely great, and I think their defense will be struggling a bit. I just struggle to see the Packers pulling this out. It's one of those things where I do think it will be close, and I think Malik Willis will probably play great, and I just think the Lions are overall a better team. And I'm not saying that means that the Lions are going to win the Super Bowl or anything, but just the Lions right now are a better team of the Packers, especially if Jair Alexander probably not playing, and and Jordan Love probably not playing. And overall, I just think the Lions are going to be better with these injuries. And it is going to be interesting because I don't think they'll do it this week, but I definitely think they'll do it probably Monday or Tuesday. That the Lions are going to trade for a pass rusher, and I'm just very curious on who it's going to be. Because if you saw Dan Campbell's press conference, he seemed giddy when talking about trading for a pass rusher, so I think they definitely will do it. The next game is the Los Angeles Rams versus Seattle Seahawks. I think the Rams are going to win. The Rams are finally back with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua playing well, and I think this Rams offense is really going to be unstoppable. The Seahawks are struggling quite a bit, and I think they're just in a slump, and their team overall is just not good. You did have Jaron Reed, and I can't remember the other player fighting on the sidelines, and just overall, I just think the Seahawks are starting to collapse, and I think the Rams are going to win and really play well. Next game is the Indianapolis Colts versus the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Colts are going to win. Joe Flacco is finally getting another shot, and I think he really deserved it. He played really well with the Browns last year, and he's been playing great in the few games that he's been having to play this year. Anthony Richardson, I think he's been struggling a lot, and just I think this could be good for his development. Sit there, watch Joe Flacco play, and also the playoffs are wide open for the Colts. And so I think the Colts do have a better shot at Joe Flacco. The offense was definitely humming better when Joe Flacco was playing. And also I think you need to bench Anthony Richardson just because not just because he was struggling, but that him just saying, I'm taking myself out of the game because I'm tired, really struck a chord with me and I think a lot of people. Just because you have receivers running hard every play, running backs running hard every play, and then your quarterback just saying, I'm tired, so I'm going to sit out. I can't believe that, and I was just really shocked by that. And I don't think I've ever seen that happen ever in the NFL. Like Lamar Jackson, he runs hard every single play, never takes a play off. Reminds me of Aaron Rodgers. It was during the Philadelphia Eagles game 2 years ago where he was literally sitting on the ground, struggling to breathe every play because it ended up being not that serious, but he thought he broke a rib and he never took himself out of the game until Matt LaFleur pulled him. And it's just like stuff like that where that one really struck a nerve with me. And then the Vikings seem like they're on the collapse. The quick passing game has been clearly the way to beat the Vikings. Christian Darrisaw is injured, although Cam Robinson, they did trade for him and he is a decent replacement. He is no Christian Darrisaw, and just overall, I think the Vikings are on a downturn and going to be struggling quite a bit. The final game of the week is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Buccaneers are going to win. I predict an upset. I think the Chiefs, even though they are getting better, their offense still isn't that great, and their defense has been carrying them. I think the Buccaneers have been looking great under Baker Mayfield, and even though they've lost their top two receivers, it seems like Baker Mayfield is starting to carry the team quite a bit, and I just think the Buccaneers are going to win. So that's my predictions for Week 9 of the NFL season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to hit that subscribe button like it owes you money. I'll see you on the next one.